few weeks ago, we released a challenge to everyone on CloudWalk. The challenge was to create music using our transactional data. So CloudWalk is on fire, we took our transactions coming through the system. And the idea was like, let's try to perceive data in a different way, perceive data in a more transcendental way, not only by looking at graphs or doing queries, but let's have maybe music that we can leave it on the environment while we're working, and just perceiving the transactions flowing through our systems. The first one was Rafael.
First of all, I am not a developer. I got only a few skills on Python and SQL, and that's what I used to solve the challenge. My first intention was to take the transactions of a given day and turn it into a melody representing the opposite of a day at work here in CloudWalk. We have a very busy day here, so I decided to make it a lullaby. That is a song to sleep. In Portuguese, uma canção de ninar. And just to make things a little bit soft and a little bit funny. This is the string, the original string, converted by the query. Randomly is assigning here the notes. This is the player, and this is the scores here.
It's Evgeny.
Because on my previous job, I was a Java developer, so I found some Java project with music generator. It's pretty old, but I used it to build my own project with. Because I'm in blockchain team, we have some operations on our blockchain, and I decided to use those operations to play different instruments. Simple program where different instruments are linked with different operation on blockchain. Strings are related to common transactions. Piano is related to token transfers. Flute related to cash-in operations when the user puts some money into our blockchain. Tuba is linked with some cash-out operation and so on. Hor is about our spin machine. It's now disabled, but previously at work. So different instruments switch on and switch off, dependent on operation on blockchain. And this sample is about low activity on blockchain. Here you can see timestamp in UTC. And we can try another one where we have more operations. But you can see that instruments are changed, and also tempo slightly changed because of number of transactions we have on blockchain. Here some numbers where we can see what is going on the blockchain. Now nothing is on blockchain, and so we hear only strings. Then someone rotate spin machine and Hor switch on, and Tuba switch on because someone else do cash out operation, and so on. And another sample This one when activity slightly higher, medium activity on blockchain. Every 50 seconds, about 15 seconds, the app make a new request to our database and get a new portion of data and change the set of instruments and tempo of the music. Here you can see timestamp. Okay, and I'm going to stop here and try another one with the highest loading on blockchain. It will be very fast. This instrument is about our repayment operation, and this achievement is about borrow operation. You can hear it. Users still do repayment operations now. And someone rotates the spin machine. Tempo was decreasing because count of transactions was going down. So that's it. It's the samples.
Thank you. And the next one is Artur and
Okay.
Gabriel.
We did this together. I will share the screen because the code is on my GitHub, but we did this together. And please, Gabriel, help me. Let's explain this together if you see that I'm missing something. I won't build the project because it takes a little bit of time. It's built here, and I will just run the binary. We also streamed events from our blockchain. It looked like a good idea for us, as Gina did. And the nice part is that we were able to make it live. So we are directly streaming from the chain. We connect it to it, and you can like listen to the chain events and the music live if you want. And we created 2 vibes, so you can listen to jazz or you can listen to ambient music. And I think it was good choice because since you are streaming directly from the chain, there are some latency sometimes. Also, we have 1 second blocks. So, but sometimes a block takes 0.9 seconds or 1.1 seconds. And this for jazz and ambient, like makes it a little bit more cool. So it was nice in this sense. And we are basically mapping from bureau-C, Pix Cashier, Spin Machine, and the compound contract. For Spin Machine, we're basically listening to any events from every contract. And we mapped samples for the events. So okay, now you can hear, right?
Yes,
So-
yes.
So I'll try to explain the music here. You can see that. Yeah, basically that. So we have, in the case of jazz, the block time, every 1 second you're playing the drums. So the drums are the blocks. We have, I don't remember now which contracts the sound, but we have one of them is the piano, one of them is the sax. I'm pretty sure Bureau C is the saxophone, and now I don't remember the other ones. But basically that, and it's interesting because when in the most busy part of the day, like after lunch and the afternoon, it gets crowded, the chain gets crowded, and the music gets much more cooler. And at night, you can see that the jazz is basically the battery and the saxophone, the drums and the saxophone. Also, there's the bass. If you're not sure if you guys are listening to it. Yeah. So the volume is okay. You can hear everything, right?
Yeah. If you can turn it a little bit higher, I think.
Okay.
Nice.
So I'll try to turn on my speakers. It will be better.
Okay. But then you can go to the ambience also.
Yeah. The volumes is higher right now?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can hear the bass. Okay, I'll put the ambient part. The ambient is cool as well. Yeah, funny enough, me and Gabriel, I like the jazz much more, and Gabriel as well. But everyone we showed it, these two prefer the ambient, so I don't know why. And here in the ambient part, the blocks are this base layer. The ambient is like a base layer that keeps looping and creates a very interesting effect. Yeah, this is it. It gets cooler if you the ambient gets cool if you let it play for some time. I think the week we did this, I kept listening for this for more than 1 hour maybe while I was working. It was cool, and I think that's it, guys. You can, if you want to try, it should work on every machine except Windows, because I mean it's hard to get support for this for Windows, but you have Mac or Linux, just install or build or run the binary and it should work for you guys.
The cool feature about it is that we also made it to randomize the samples. So you can pick up your own sample selection, just drop it in the assets folder, and it will load all the samples and randomize them.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You can add a pretty good variety to the music by adding more samples. That's really
And if you want to add more vibes, it's very modular. You can like code another vibe there and add the samples, and you have like any mapping you want to listen to.
Now let's go to Fabio.
My idea was to instead of using the data as kind of a random number generator to just generate random notes, I wanted to use a bit of music theory to kind of choose notes that either come from the scale or the chord or outside of the scale. So there's a choice there, and then use the numbers that come from the transactions table to kind of guide the decisions of how you change the key or how you change the notes. So my idea, and I'm not sure I accomplished it, but it was to generate music that kind of sounds like it's using a particular key and kind of arpeggiating a particular chord. But then some aspects of the transactions would be translated in types of behavior in the music. So for instance, there are two channels generating notes, right? So it's like two people playing on a piano. So the first channel is using the rates of each of the capture methods in the approved transactions to determine a weight. And these weights are used to kind of determine the probability that the next note is going to come from the chord, from the diatonic scale, or for just outside of the scale. And so like the two instruments are doing kind of the same thing. They're using, the first instrument is getting the ratio from the approved transactions. The second instrument is getting from the denied or failed transactions. The number of transactions in the last hour is translated in the tempo. So if we run this thing in a moment that has lots of transactions, then the music is going to be faster. The total approved amount, we're going to get this value and then use a mod 7 to choose which of the chords in the key is going to be used for that bar. The ratio of distinct card holders to merchants is going to, like, at each 4 bars, I'm modulating, I'm changing to a different key. So this ratio is going to determine how many steps in the circle of fifths we're moving to choose a new key. So it's kind of, these things are kind of translated into concepts that around the keys and the chords in each key, and how big are the steps that you're taking in changing the keys and changing the chords and so on. This is what was generated from the last hour worth of transactions. Can you hear?
Yeah, we can. Okay, we do have a winner, and the winner is Arthur and Gabriel. Congratulations, folks.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks. It was a very cool challenge. Pretty cool challenge.